Okay. Had you cut off there.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. I would like to call the January 4th, 2022 regular meeting of Dean County Planning Commission to order. Ms. Grover, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Splendor.
Here.
Ms. Height. Here. Mr. Wagner.
Here.
Mr. Greenwood.
Here.
And Mr. Breeden.
Here, thank you very much. The next item is the review and adoption of the meeting agenda. Does anyone have any, want to make any changes to the agenda? Right. And if not, I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Got a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all very much. The next item is consideration of the November 30th, 2021 work session and meet minutes, and then the December regular meeting and work session minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the drafts? Everybody. Does anyone have any corrections? What? Very good. In that case, I would entertain a motion to approve all three sets of minutes. A motion.
Second.
You got seconded. All in favor of approving all three minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Could be a short night. The next item up is the public comment period. Speakers have 3 minutes, 5 minutes. They're speaking for a group on any planning matters, since we have no public hearings tonight. Is there anybody in the room who'd like to speak? Actually, let me go ahead and officially call the period. Call the public comment period to order. So I'll open up the public comment period. Anybody wish to speak? Anybody online?
Yes, sir.
All right. Seeing no one, I'll close the public comment period. And the next item up is discussion of the comprehensive plan. Ms. Grant.
Okay, we did receive comments back from a few of you. I haven't gotten anything new from Bill Studio. Evie was going to try to make it, but she is out sick right now. So hopefully we can set up a work session and have them back in here. They did get your comments, and she's working on incorporating those at this time.
Questions from Ms. Grant? If you can kind of go over it again, I apologize for missing the last work session. Everybody knows I was kind of incapacitated. So what is the plan going forward, in the general timetable, and then the steps that we're doing moving forward?
She's going to incorporate the comments. We were going to look at the future land use map and work on that a little bit. We do need to have one more work session. We need to set up a public meeting so the public can come and give their comments. We need to do a joint work session with the Board of Supervisors and EDA, incorporating any additional comments. Probably have one more public hearing. The plan was hopefully to have it approved by March. So we will see how things go.
So with the public meeting, how are we planning on advertising that?
We're going to advertise it on our webpage. We're also going to advertise it in the Country Courier and the Tidewater Review at least 3 weeks prior to the meeting date.
Okay. Any idea when you would want to have that public meeting, or is that contingent upon when the Hill Group gets the next draft?
I can get some dates from the deputy clerk, see when Hill's going to be available, and shoot an email to y'all and see what dates work the best, and then we can start with advertising.
Okay. And Ms. Hill, excuse me, Ms. Sloan, any idea of when she'll have the next draft back to us? Because we should have at least a couple of weeks, I should think, before the public meeting, make sure we can digest the final first draft, I like to call it. So any idea about the timing for that?
She's working on it now, so she just did get some the other day from Mr. Sluter, and she's working on incorporating that right now. So it shouldn't take her long at all.
Okay, could you send us all an updated email with the projected time for her to finish the next draft? And then the timing proposed for the public meeting.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Keeping in mind, we need to have at least 2 weeks to advertise in the newspapers and website. And all that.
Yeah, we want to make sure we get it out there so we can, get plenty of comments back from the public.
Okay, anything else on the comprehensive plan?
What's the status of the future land use map is? Are we looking at what you presented last time? Are we gonna give more comments?
That's something that we were gonna take a look at. We briefly looked at it at one of our other meetings to see if that is pretty much where you want the line to go, especially up near Central Garage. If not, if you want to expand it or if you want to reduce it, we really do need to look at that and look along 360 and see if we want to carry the commercial along that a little further out.
Well, and I do have some comments on the 360 corridor and where the on and blue Nestor Marina Industrial Park is. We show that going behind the property across the road. That property is a forest products property. Lale Pine Incorporated or something like that, but they have all pine trees in there that they're growing. So I think with our stated intent that we want to preserve the rural landscape, forest and farms, then I think we should stay off of that. Just leave it right on Dunluce Road rather than one that was out.
But we probably, that's one of the things we really need to focus on with one of our work sessions. And we are working on trying to get a larger map with the individual parcels so we can kind of.
That would be helpful.
Anyone else? All righty, well, I'm excited. It looks really, really good. And I'm especially interested in the matrix that identifies different people that have different things to do to move the county forward. I really like what that looks. Y'all want to look at that and see what we're going to focus on next year. What are the most important things? What are the things we can achieve and so forth and so on. So, and nothing else on the comprehensive plan? Okay. The next item then is release of the solar farm application. Ms. Graham, you're up again.
Okay, last year when we were working on our ordinance changes, we asked the board of supervisors for non-acceptance of any applications for solar farms until after the zoning and subdivision ordinance had passed. So now that it is passed, do you want to take this back before the board of supervisors to start accepting applications again?
As I recall, we had sent something to them recommending that we not accept it, correct? And then they made the decision instructing you all not to. If you need something formal, or is it sufficient for us to informally request that you continue it or to release it?
I think we need to do it in memo form to them.
Okay.
Because I think, did they do a resolution on that? It's been a while.
That would be nice, that we did it that way, that we would have it.
Circle back.
I'll do a little research if y'all are ready to release.
Well, and then that's a question. Are you all ready to release? Anybody want to start?
I think we need to go ahead and release it, yes.
I agree, it's your committee, you're on one that came up with all of that, was pretty good as it was, because we were just holding off till the once, I'm agree with that too.
The same.
I think we've reviewed it enough that we've put measures in place that it would be the appropriate time frame. If we had any other concerns, then we probably should have addressed them by now.
Mr. Sluter?
Yeah, I agree.
So one of the reasons for the moratorium was that the ordinance was in flux and we weren't sure how it was going to end up. It has now been approved. It has been recommended for approval unanimously by this commission and approved by the board of supervisors. So I see no reason from that standpoint to hold off any longer. The only other question is, are you ready for the onslaught?
Hopefully it won't be too bad.
Then if you would, for our next meeting, put together a resolution recommending that we recommend to the board of supervisors to go ahead and allow solar applications.
Great, I will have that for our next meeting.
Thank you.
And that will still be CUP, so if there's anything that comes up in between, we can always add those extra conditions, which is a good thing.
Well, and again, going back to Mr. Greenwood's comment, we had a very robust subcommittee with both proponents and opponents of that particular application. And I was delighted with the give and take, and we agreed on most things, and a few things we didn't agree on, we presented to the full planning commission of the board of supervisors. Here was what the group as a whole recommended, and here were the opposing views. And I think the ordinance is a very, very good one. I think it gives us the latitude to do what we need to do in the best interest of the county. So I'm very comfortable with releasing it. And I think Mr. Green was also right about ending the process the way we began it. So
Like we also incorporated in that, what the state code allowed, where we can get more revenue from the solar farms.
yes,
That's a good feature.
and that was, I think, a key feature to make sure we included it. So it'll be interesting to see the applications that come in, what they propose, and we can determine if we recommend it's in the best interest of the county. So very pleased. Okay. On the new business, the first item is the election of the commission chairman. So at this time, the floor is open to nominations.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I would like to nominate John Reed as chair for the coming year.
Thank you. With nominations, we do not require a second. Are there any other nominations? Okay. According to Robert's Rules of Order, I should say whether I'm willing to do it or not. I am. I just did it for 6 months this time around, so I appreciate the opportunity to do it for a full year. Those in favor of Mr. Breeden being re-elected chair should vote aye, and opposed say no. So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate it. And we've had a very, very successful last couple of years, and next year will be another momentous year. So I appreciate the opportunity to do this again. Okay, the next item is the election of a commission vice chairman. And once again, the floor is open to nominations.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I would like to nominate Matthew Sluter for vice chair.
Okay, we've got a nomination for Mr. Sluter for vice chair. Do we have any other nominations? All right. Very well then. Let's see if I have already forgotten. So the nominations are closed, and there's no one else. And all in favor of Mr. Sluter for vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Congratulations, Mr. Sluter. Very good. Okay, the next election or appointment is for commission secretary. For the nominations for that role.
Well, I would hope Ms. Graham would be willing to continue as the secretary, and if so, then I would nominate Ms. Graham for that.
Do we have any other nominations? Okay. Then all in favor of Ms. Graham serving as secretary, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Very good. And as a past practice, you'll be our official secretary. You'll sign all communications. However, as the department head, you can of course delegate any and all the you need to. So, so I appreciate you serving again as secretary. And the next item is the adoption of the commission bylaws for 2022. You all got a copy of the bylaws. We've made a few changes over the last couple of years. Do we have any changes that anyone wants to make at this time? And if not, I would look for a motion to move forward with the bylaws for this upcoming year. Does anyone have any changes they want to make?
Yeah, I don't think we can make changes at this meeting because they haven't been presented 30 days in advance.
Well, yes, we've done that traditionally. However, that is a normal best practice, which kind of ties into what I'm going to recommend.
Okay.
So you all are okay with approving them as written at this point? So you have a motion to continue with these bylaws? There's a motion to continue with these bylaws. Second. Do a motion to a second to approve bylaws for this year? Second. Got a motion properly seconded. All in favor of using these bylaws for this upcoming year, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much. You know, it's funny, we've always done it at our January meeting. According to Robert's Rules of Order, we should allow 30 days. There may be some changes we would like to make, nothing earth shattering. So what I would like to do at this time, I don't think we have any other, we don't need other things along those lines. What I'd like to do is to appoint a subcommittee to look at the bylaws and come back to us either at our February, March meeting with a recommendation to keep the bylaws as written for the year or to make modifications at the following month's meeting. Would anyone like to serve on that subcommittee?
So, how many people do you want?
We could have a committee of the whole, but I would limit it to 3. So you'd like to serve on? it? Okay, so are you okay with not being on this?
I am.
This item, okay. All right, so then we have a subcommittee of Mr. Greenwood, Mr. Wagner, Mr. Sluter to review the bylaws. You've got a copy of the current ones. You can schedule a meeting. Because it'll be 3 of them meeting, we'll need to post those meetings on the website. Then y'all can get together and schedule your convenience and come back to the February meeting with recommendations. I appreciate it. Okay. Thank y'all very much. Okay, the next item is the approval and adoption of the 2021 Planning Commission annual report. Before I open the floor, I would like to thank staff for doing a great job with it. It looks really, really good. A couple of changes that I want to make, but I want to run by everyone else's changes first. So you all had a chance at the annual report. Does anybody have anything they'd like to change?
I would just like to say it's a very excellent report.
Big pardon?
I would just like to say it's an excellent report. It does reflect what we've done throughout the year. What we're looking forward to doing in the coming year.
I did it the same thing. It looks very professional, It's very nicely done. The company, they coming up with this year and having it for us at this meeting.
Yes.
They're supposed to have it.
Yes, I concur. Ms. Height?
Same as the above. I didn't see anything that I thought needed to be changed, but I do thank Mrs. Graham and staff for getting that put together for us.
I do have a couple of minor things.
Can we take one quick break?
Yes.
People are having trouble getting in and seeing the meeting. So we're gonna take a quick moment and see if we can't see what's
All right.
going on here.
I'll call the meeting into recess. If
I'm
y'all
sorry.
y'all can take pass those down. I passed them out to.
So like the old, or the same like the other meeting? Yeah.
So the link that's on our webpage
That's the one we're on.
and that's not working.
Good timing for the break. I was going to say that if you want to first comment as the first non-paid, if you were aware of the commission this week.
That was Mr. Chairman. Mr. Slivers was our vice chairman.
You've already given me a lot of contributions, so I was just making that.
So if you go down to the meetings on. Is that a different one? That's not even the one. That's just the registration. It's not letting me make this. I guess it's a good thing we're all here in person tonight.
Did anyone else try to get in?
Yeah, lots of people.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't even notice this.
Have they registered? Or do you have to register every time or just register?
Just registered once. The
Just
links
once,
are wrong.
gotcha.
Nobody could get in. That's why there were zero. I thought that was strange myself. Probably because it was the weather.
So when we go live, I will say, thank you for making King of King William.
Instead of going to the calendar, could you go to the, where the agendas are and then see where the link, what the link says from the agenda from tonight?
Yeah, because the links aren't working for the phones, they aren't working for the website, they aren't working for anything. I guess somebody should have tried to get in. We would have known.
We still got the ice on the screen, maybe?
No, it's not the right link.
Okay.
It's too late now. So
For what?
it's over.
I know.
Terry, did anyone sign up ahead of time?
I don't know. They go to that link and sign in. And
She doesn't have any control
If
of
they wanted to
that.
speak, they're supposed to
No,
sign up ahead of time.
they are, now they're supposed to register. That's hopefully to stop some of the.
to get into the website, all we have to do is just log into Zoom once. Zoom is total control of that. The county has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, they can still watch it and hear it. They just can't speak
Participate.
if they haven't pre-registered.
These are just people that wanted to watch, not people who wanted to talk. Because of the weather.
Well, worst case, hopefully she did record it up to the cloud, so they'll be able to watch it, afterwards. It'll be on our webpage.
Yeah, I'll turn the recording off, I assume.
I don't know.
Years, I just caught this, I didn't catch it, because I read it so fast, it sounds kind of cool. Number from each, oh, one of them, that sounds like it.
Each of these.
Each one, right, and one of the one.
Yes.
Yes, see that. So, it's, email.
Well, I thought we talked about it.
Okay,
Make
oh,
sure we're all
good,
okay.
oh, good, oh, that's what we're using
No,
now.
I just, exactly, yeah, we're right on the point now.
That sounds good.
From what I can see on the website, I don't see anything except for the link to register. There wasn't, I don't see today a link that actually gets you. Other than to register. To speak.
When she pulled it up, all ago, I didn't see any. That was all I'd seen.
Yeah, I looked under agendas, I looked under the calendar, I looked under events. And all three things only have the register link, not an actual Zoom link to get into the meeting.
Any progress?
Don't know. Do you want me to just tell her we'll go ahead and resume? Hopefully it's being taped and we can put it on there.
Yeah, check and see if you would.
Yeah. Sure.
All right, so we're still down.
Nope.
It should
Oh,
have
Rebecca.
been late for them to be able to get on there.
In that case, I will call the meeting back to order after the recess. Thank you, Ms. Thank you for resolving our technical issues. We were at the approval and adoption of the 2021 Planning Commission annual report. I think there's still a consensus. We were quite pleased with the overall report. Did a great job. Glad it's already here waiting for us for our January meeting. I had a few comments before I get to mine. I think Mr. Greenwood has one comment, and these are for the most part technical wordsmithing, so to speak. Mr. Greenwood.
Just on page 2, it says planning commission to have a member from each of the one of the districts. Probably should say planning commission member from each of the districts instead of from each one of the one districts. Just kind of whatever everybody else thinks would sound better.
I'd be comfortable with staff figuring that
Right.
out, but it looks funny and
Right.
can be done better, so thank you, Mr. Greenwood. Anyone else? Yeah, well, I've got a couple, also on page 2, right below where Mr. Greenwood made his comments. I was proposing to strike the words, look forward to the new perspective Mr. Sluter will bring to the commission, and replace it with the appreciate the contributions Mr. Sluter is already making to the commission. The comment when he was first made a member of the commission would have been totally appropriate, but he's made a number of contributions already. Thank you, Mr. Sluter. And so that just seems a more appropriate thing to say. And I don't think Mr. Sluter has any objection to it. But are you all okay with that? Okay. And the next item I have is on page 6. Again, my wife just asks me all the time for wordsmithing, but I was involved in the U.S. standards for microfilm and documentation for about 20 years. And so it's ingrained and I can't help myself, so I apologize for that. On page 6, in the first paragraph, first sentence, I would recommend striking the planning commission anticipates having a draft of the updated comprehensive plan and replace it with the planning commission anticipates a resolution to recommend the plan. It won't be a draft before the supervisors see it officially. We will issue a resolution adopting that plan and hinge it upon them adopting it. So I would like to make that replacement. And then the second sentence, I would say to strike that altogether, doesn't really add anything to it. However, we could instead, we could say that the board of supervisors disapproves the plan, the commission will reconsider and submit any changes. So that is technically what the code review says, and if we need to include the second sentence, that's the way I recommend it read. Do we even need the second sentence? What's y'all's pleasure?
It doesn't matter to me either way, it would be fine.
I recommend just striking the second sentence then.
Okay.
And that's cleanest, I think. And then in the second paragraph, rather than saying after the draft has been reviewed and then possibly adopted by the Board of Supervisors, replaced with after the Board of Supervisors has adopted the revised comprehensive plan. Again, we'll want to take a look at the zoning and subdivision ordinance, but only after supervisors have signed off on the plan. So that's, again, following the Code of Virginia, and I think it's a little cleaner. Are y'all okay with that change?
I agree with
Okay.
that. We're possibly,
Huh?
the word possibly kind of invokes doubt.
Right, right. And at some point they'll approve it, they may not approve the resolution of have them, although I hope that they will have a chance to review it and get any of their concerns to us before we even issue the resolution. So I don't anticipate these being a problem, but based on the Code of Virginia, it just seems the cleaner way to do it. So I thank y'all for that. Any other changes to the annual report?
Yes, if I may,
Right.
on page 5, approved CU permits. The second and third permits are both CUP 0521 for James Chester. Is that correct, or is there only one permit?
That should just be one.
Okay, so we're striking.
Yes, sir. Strike the second one.
Good catch. Mr. Wilson. Any other changes to the annual report? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to recommend the approval of the 2021 Plan Commission annual report to be forwarded to the Board of Supervisors at the next meeting. Do I have your motion?
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion to approve and present to the Board of Supervisors the annual report. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a motion properly seconded. All in favor of approving the annual report, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Thank you all very much. And again, great job on the report. It's been a busy year, and this reflects both how busy you folks have been in your office as well as what we've done as well. So thank you very much. All righty. Now paper spread out so much, I've lost my track of things. Here we go. Okay, we are up to staff and special committee reports. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the meeting dates. Yes, in our packet, we also have proposed meeting dates for 2022. It takes me a while to use saying that. I'll be saying 2021 or 1999 for at least 6 months. So we have the proposed meeting dates for 2022. Any changes people need to make?
Look good to me.
Beg pardon?
They all look good to me.
Okay. In that case, I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting dates for 2022. Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor of approving these meeting dates, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you all very much. Thank you for the catch. And now we're up to staff and or special committee reports. Ms. Graham.
We should have had copies.
Yes. Anything you want to report in particular?
I'm going to turn it over to Christina for a few minutes,
Okay.
and then I'll go over a couple of other things.
And so you have before you the November and the December zoning reports. I have them separated, and I also have one that's combined. So you have the November zoning permits that were issued by the individual permits themselves. And then you have it listed the violations, and I kind of wanted to talk about that just a little bit. Bear with me 1 second. So we have gone a little bit more in detail with the violations than what you've seen in the past. We've been trying to build our database with our new software that we have. And Andy and I have been working on it for quite some time to give you all a little bit more detail. So if you go to page. It starts on page 14. So these are for, I did it a combination of November through December so that you can see, you can follow along with the violations. And I'm going to focus on that just a little bit based on conversation that Mr. Breeden and I had, so that you can see from start to finish when Andy goes out and does an inspection. Say for instance, the very first one, and I'm not going to mention the addresses, but it'll show when he went out for the very first inspection. And then it will show if, for instance, he had to send out a courtesy letter, and then it'll show if he actually goes out for a follow-up inspection. So it will show you from the very beginning of the process all the way through completion. And as you will see on most of these, we've not completed the process because he's still going through the process trying to gain compliance. So the reason why I've done it is a combination November through December, and actually some of it all the way through January, is because he's still going through the process with a lot of these properties. And the whole goal is to gain compliance with the property owners. It's not to take them to court, it's to gain compliance. So we don't have a lot of them at this point because Andy goes out and he will talk to a lot of the property owners and explain to them what the expectations are. And again, try to get compliance. And so you will see even on some of these now where we're starting to show not only the letters, but if he has posted on a property, you will see that as part of this report. And that's something that we weren't showing before. We were documenting it, but we're actually showing that now. So on the very last one, for instance, that you'll see where it says posted notice. And that is on page 17. So you'll see where the very first time he went out was on the 21st of December. And then he posted a notice on the 28th, and then he has a second follow-up on the 5th of January. It was actually supposed to be yesterday, and of course we were closed. And so he scheduled it for tomorrow, possibly, depending again on the weather. So you'll see it from start to finish. And this is how you'll start to see these violations when they start coming before the planning commission, to give you a little bit more detail. The other thing you'll see at the very end of this is we have been working, the building department and I have been working to try to get a custom report. And this is something you all had talked about at the very beginning. It's something I had talked about at the very beginning. And it's been a process since July. And it's been something we have been trying to determine how to get to this point. So at the very end, which is page 34, I think we're finally getting to that point. So I have finally, excuse me, got to the point where we can download data into an Excel document. And we can pick and choose some different items in order to show you some different results. And it's still based on fees. And that's what it ultimately boiled down to, was fees and how we're utilizing the software system. And it took us a good deal of time to get there, something that the vendor wasn't able to communicate to us. It's something we've been playing with since July to get to this point. So the building department and I work on it, and Sherry was going through the budget process. So this is kind of where we are, and we can get additional data into this Excel document We can take away, we can put more in here depending on what you all want to take a look at. So we can stick with the reports that I've been giving you, or we can do more customized reports, such as what you're looking at right here. It kind of depends on what else you all want to see. So kind of just giving you an example of what else we can do, download it to Excel.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, so a couple quick questions. You mentioned the property was, you were going to post it yesterday, but the weather got in the way. But by posting, what are you posting for? And what are the steps to follow that? So you're, so what is Andy going to be doing tomorrow?
No, Andy had already posted that property. He was just
And what does that mean exactly? Can you go into a little bit of detail about that?
So if Andy's posting a property, it means that they have already been sent a notice of violation and they have not adhered. They've gone out and they're still working, for instance, on that property possibly. And this particular one, they were clearing land and they had been issued a stop work order basically. And they were still working. So Andy went out and posted that stop. You're not permitted to do any further work. And once that stop work order goes up, they cannot do any more work.
And then what follows that? And what if they ignore that order? What happens then? And is that tracked in the software as well?
That, we can add that in the software, yes. We can add almost anything into the
But is that
software.
something, so are you all tracking that now or?
Yes, that's why we have it in the system. So we're
So-
tracking everything that goes on with that property.
So they continue to ignore the posting, the letters, what happens after that?
Someone let,
If he continues to ignore our stop work order, then we will go before the magistrate and seek a summons and take him to court.
And have you all done that in the last couple of years?
We have.
And at that point, it goes into the court system and it's,
We go before the judge. And the cases that we have taken, unfortunately, it's like after you issue a summons, then they're willing to correct the problem. And if they are showing that they have done a good job in trying to get it corrected before court, we'll ask for continuance, or they can ask for continuance. And then usually within 30 days, if we go back, they've taken care of the problem. I'm not going to say that it never comes back up. Well, at that time, if they have taken care of it, we won't dismiss the charges. We'll just ask that they be no process. That way we can bring the charges back up. If you dismiss them, you can't bring them back up for a year. So,
and we've had scenarios, you were on the commission at this point, but the rest of y'all were, where a homeowner did an addition and did not realize they had certain things that needed to be done that the builder probably knew, and I had some concerns about that, but the homeowner wouldn't take it right, and we certainly made them pay the fees and did what we need to do. Where we have a notorious or serial abuser, what are the processes for getting compliant so they don't continue to be serial abusers?
well, that's a little bit different because you're talking about a builder. So there's a couple of avenues that they can go
Well, not
through.
necessarily a builder, again, a business owner, a builder, a homeowner would have multiple violations, you would think. But where with any landowner or someone not following, because again, we've got this zoning and subdivision ordinance, which I think is very, very good, where people are not adhering to it.
Depending on what the violation is, and I'll just use it as an example. Inoperative vehicles. They remove them, but then 6 months later, they've got another junkyard. And this happens, unfortunately. Well, if you can show that this is a habit for them, then you go back to court. We still have to go through the process now of sending a courtesy letter, then go back out, take another look, then send a formal letter, wait the 30 days, then go back out, take another look. And then if they're in violation, then we can go legal action. Or if they're trying to clear it up, they're working on it, we will try to work with them to get the stuff cleaned up. And sometimes it takes a little longer than the 30 days. We do try to work with them if
Oh,
that's
sure,
the
of
case.
course, of course.
If they show that they are actually working on it.
Make a good faith effort. So do you feel that you have the software and processes and staff to make sure that folks stay in compliance with the ordinance?
Yeah, this here is something that anybody in our department can take a look at. Anybody that has the admin system, and they can see where it's at.
Okay.
So,
Well, I appreciate it. Again, this commission has spent hundreds of hours revising the ordinance, and I think we all agree that it's reasonable, and hopefully it's enforceable, and hopefully you've got the folks you need to enforce the ordinance, and will hopefully help clean some problems. But I know Mr. Wagner's got a number of concerns over the past 10 or 15 years where the county has failed to.
Absolutely.
And I know that y'all are doing an excellent job, and I commend and thank you for that. But I just have seen some evidence of serial abusers, and want to try to understand the process. I want to make sure that you have the resources necessary to resolve any issues. So thank you very much for that.
with this system, I mean, any of us in the office can take the complaint, and then we will put it in the system. And Andy is our property maintenance inspector and our EMS inspector. So he'll look at those daily, and then he'll go out there. But it'll also tell him, when the time is up, and it'll, bring that inspection up for him to go out and take another look at.
Okay.
And if he gets behind, it's something that one of us can also go out and take a look at if we need to.
Okay, thank you all very much. I appreciate your explanation and y'all bearing with me to learn about that. So thank you all very much. Any other questions about any of the reports?
Just one additional comment. I just want to thank Mrs. Graham and staff for taking the extra effort to customize some of those reports, so it gives us some more information. I think it's valuable. So thank y'all for putting the time into it.
Yes, I agree with you. Agree with that as well.
I did hear another issue, Ms. Graham, if I may. We have a BZA meeting later in this month, in which you've got several similar, 3 or 4 similar cases. And the reason I bring this up is, having been on the BZA, if we have continuing problems with the same type of thing, then those problems can be referred back to the planning commission to look at the ordinance. But could you give us a little bit of detail on what these are?
That was one of the things I was going to touch on after this. We do have 4 public hearings coming up this month to the Board of Zoning Appeals. All 4 are accessory structures to be located in front of the dwelling. 3 of the 4, they're several hundred feet from the road or down a lane. I think we only have 1 that's not the case. So in the past, before the ordinance, if they were behind the, like in the front yard, if now it's 75, but then it was 50, if they were behind that 50-foot line, then they were considered out of the front yard. But the way that the ordinance reads, that's not the case. They are considered in the front yard if they're in front of the house. They would have to be behind the front line of the house to be considered in the side yard or to go into the backyard. So the ordinance does not allow accessory structures in the front yard at all. And the way that this ordinance reads, that means anything in front of the house. So we have the 4 going this month.
And if I may add, I think a lot of the challenges, 2 of the ones that we have going before the board, they sit along the river and they're located in the AC district. And we're talking about lots that are 7 acres. They sit far back on the property and they just don't have the rear yard to put these accessory dwellings behind the home. So although they have the acreage, they have their septic, their drain field on the side, they have RPA in the back, So they're very limited on what they can do. And yet, we have AC, but we have nothing in the ordinance that provides any type of exception process for larger lots. We've even seen some that are larger, that are 10 acres or more. And because they've chosen to put their house back in the rear of the lot, we can't grant them approval.
So in colonial times, that the front would have been the river, so that would make them self-dwelling rear, but I think we did a very good job with the zoning subdivision ordinance, but we knew up front that there would be some changes necessary based on the comprehensive plan. We also knew there'd be some changes necessary because we could think about this or that. Because, for example, in this grant, you're keeping a list of other things that you see that we could maybe do better when we tweak it later this year.
Christine and I both are doing a list of things that are coming up continuously that we probably need to look at one more time.
Yeah, that's a situation where maybe we could look at setting accessory structures of at least 75 feet from the property line. My house that's way back from the road. And I would hate for Christina to come down there and tell me I couldn't barn out front of my house if I ever decided to. Although we did put that the outside of the house. But yeah, I think we need to take a serious look at that. Some good judgment from the BZA should be able to rectify that situation, but I would hate to see they go too far. Not being critical, but I would hate to see that they carry that too far.
It's also an added problem to the homeowners that is unnecessary perhaps. So on the one hand, you would hate to have BCA approve something they shouldn't, but even more importantly, they hate to have homeowners go through the added expense and time of appealing something that we should fix.
The real issue with the BZA is it a hardship? If they just want to put it out front of the house, that's not a hardship. So the applicant has a responsibility of proving the hardship based on the regular. What Christina said, I would probably decide in the affirmative, but there are situations that we do need to be a little more careful about. We worked hard on getting these ordinances out, and then just to have more of those ordinances not violated, but
well, we know some things is necessary. So you're going to start with an update, and you've given us at least a couple of updates. What other updates do you have, Ms. Graham?
That's all that I can think of right now. We've had some tentative businesses making some inquiries, so I'm hoping that some will be coming in before too long. Get a couple more businesses in here. I don't want to share too much because there's nothing definite yet, but hopefully they'll be coming to the county before too long.
Any other questions or concerns from Ms. Graham? Anybody?
so the question, I guess the next question I do have, we talked a little bit about setting up a work session to look further into the comprehensive plan, and particularly the future land use plan. Do you want to set that tonight, or do you want to look at dates and get back with us?
Well, let me get with the deputy clerk and see what dates are available. And then I will send that information to you in an email.
And with Ms. Sloan and Phil Group as to when we'll have the draft that we need for that work session.
I'll try to get with her tomorrow and get that stuff out to y'all.
How much time would y'all like for that draft? It won't be significantly different than the current draft. How much time do y'all want to receive that before we have a work session? Ms. Height?
I got a lot more time than the rest of us.
Yes, Mr. Wagner and I are fortunate that we have more flexibility with our schedules. That's why I was looking up. That's in the table in particular. Is 2 weeks sufficient? For the full plan, it wouldn't be close, but for the few changes we have, would that be sufficient for the three of you all who are still working?
I think it would be.
Okay, so then once you get a date from the Hill Group, then a couple weeks after that, give us some dates for possible work sessions. And we can go from there.
Sounds good.
You okay with that, Ms. Wagner?
Well, I'll make comments in closing.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? All right, that being the case, then it's time for commissioner comments. Ms. Height?
Just thank Mrs. Graham and staff for all the work that they've done in putting the reporting together as well as our annual report. Thank everyone. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to put out any comments in reference to the comp plan, but I have reviewed what has been sent by each one of the commissioners, and I thank each one of you for putting the time and effort into making those comments. I think most of them are very valid, and was glad to have that input. And that's about all.
Thank you. Mr. Greenwood?
Like I said, reiterated earlier, I like the summary that you did in here with a few modifications that we made. That's a good plan that we have going out to the board and to the citizens of the county to show what the plan commission has done over the last year. That was great. And thanks for all the input. The weather has kept a lot of people out tonight. Sorry about problems with Zoom, but they can watch it again at a later date, I hope. Thanks everybody for coming. Hope they had a nice Christmas and New Year. Thank you. A good New Year. You're moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Greenwood. Mr. Sluter?
Well, first of all, thank you to the staff for these reports. I personally really like the detail that's on the Edmonds report. Gives some perspective to the items listed on it. So I prefer to see that in the future if that's easy enough for you to do. In the annual report, same thing. Was very nicely done. Report, a great snapshot of the year in review. I'm looking forward to the continued discussion on the comp plan. I would really like to see involvement, joint involvement with the with Board of Supervisors and EDA for sure. I think that we need everybody's perspective on the future growth of the county, and certainly for those that are listening online, to attend these meetings, get the word out, send people to the website to view what's already up there. We need that feedback from the constituents of the county. So I'm very humbled at Mr. Wagner for nominating me for vice chair. I'm sure there's very much more qualified people, but thank you for that, and I'm excited about the learning opportunity there. So, but very much excited for what lies ahead of us for the year, and to keep these discussions going.
Ms. Wagner?
I'd just like to say we've gone through an extremely difficult year. We've had a lot of turnover. I thank Ms. Graham for what she did, taking over the helm, and I'm glad she was appointed to that position. I'm looking forward to a new year where we're continuing the good work you all have been doing. Just a few comments I want to make. Things have been difficult with the county for the last couple of years. We're at a crossroads right now. We have had some excellent news recently. Broadband for the county, the necessary arena expansion, $180 million expansion. That's going to help our bottom line a whole lot. help take a little bit of the pressure off the residents of the county, residential development. We're ready to go forward with the water and sewer. All of those look good for moving ahead with managing the development of this county. And when I say that, there's a good reason. I look back over the last 20 years, and in my opinion, we haven't managed what's happening in this county. We've just let it happen. We got to change that, and we can do it, and we can manage it. But with those things that I just talked about, possibilities with Commerce Park, other possibilities in the county that we can start looking at. I think we got a great opportunity to move this county ahead. And I certainly thank Mr. Ashcraft for stepping up to the challenge. And I'm looking for a lot of good things coming from Mr. Ashcraft as well. But we can't just finish this comprehensive plan and just let it go at that. We got to work together with the staff, with the board, with the EDA, and citizens alike in this county, because all of us got to take part in making that happen. And included in that, we really need a new approach, looking at developers and targeting developers from outside of this county that can provide us for things that we want. One of the things that I talk about a lot is mixed use development. Mixed use development is one thing we dearly need. And we've got three large developments in this county that offer a whole lot of residential development, but almost nothing in commercial. So we got to change that. So going forward with the comp plan, let's always look at those things. And thank the planning commission for that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. I'd like to echo a lot of what folks have said. I think it was 2003 was the last time we had a robust comp plan, and it proceeded to sit on the shelf for the next 13 or so years. And the 2016 version was basically because the 2003 comp plan was approaching the age of where you start driving at 16. So we made that revision. Excuse me. This comp plan has gotten a lot of good input. Over, I think, 400 people have weighed in on the surveys. We spent a lot of time with it. I think it's critically important that we continue to look at the hardest part of our job is behind us, but there's still more changes we'll want to see. Seek out your friends and neighbors, make sure they're aware of the draft, especially once we get the final working draft from the Hill Group. We'll need to make sure we widely publicize it, get as many people involved as possible. 200 or 300 sets of eyes would be wonderful to have folks look at this, and 5 or 6 or more hundreds of folks to say, yes, this is our vision for the county as well. And not everybody's going to be happy with it. In fact, there will be lots of people, most people will say, I like this, but I don't like that. And so it'll be a compromise document, but it will be a blueprint. And I especially like the matrix where it talks about the different goals and strategies and who has a part to play in those. And this next year and coming years, I want this planning commission to look at that matrix to say, well, this is something we can work on in 2022. This is one we can work on in 2023, and so forth and so on. Delighted we finally have a good county administrator on board who will hopefully be with us for a while. You have a lot of experience. What's good about this? What could be better? And everybody who watches this meeting or everybody we talk to in the coming weeks and next few months, let's make this our blueprint for the next 20 years. I want to thank staff for all their good work. I want to thank this planning commission for its good work and for their entrusting me with one more year as chairman. I hope you don't regret it. But anyway, I thank you for that. Thank you for all your hard work. And I hope everyone had a good Christmas and good New Year. And we've got a fun year ahead for us. So this time I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Anybody?
So moved.
Got a motion to adjourn. A second. All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Oh, could they hear me?
We must definitely